hard. I'm gonna go ahead and sand it down with some 80 grit real quick. Try to just make sure the new resin has something to bond to, and trim it up. Try to get as much of this extra as I can, and we'll be ready to keep moving. I'm going through, and wherever my brush is leaving hairs from the paintbrush, I'm removing those. So I have a nice gloss finish. I didn't film every single step of making this side of the quarter panel in carbon because I was still trying to figure it out for myself, and it was too hard to focus on that and try to film, and it was a lot. So I'm going to walk you through what I did. I think I recorded the first layer of laying carbon down. I laid the resin, laid the carbon down, laid the resin, let the resin dry overnight. Came back the next day, I sanded the whole thing down with 80 grit, and then 120, just make sure it was super smooth, well, smooth enough, resin, and then another layer of carbon resin on top of that. And too much resin adds weight. You want to have that perfect ratio, and we're going to explore other methods later of doing that and mixing like a vacuum bag instead of just going on by hand. But we're going to try other methods of making carbon fiber later, but not on these panels, they're too big. So I made the quarter panel one piece. I made on the top of the RX8, there's like the quarter panel continues all the way up to where the windshield is. I made that its own piece. I made each layer, each section, the rear section portion of it, the rear 50 inches, and I did 3 layers of that, of carbon on top of that. And then I did 3 more layers on the front section. And then the 4th layer of carbon, I went all the way across the whole thing, just so I have a continuous twill all the way across it. And then I reinforced the pinch point from the inside. I trimmed it down, and most of the trimming just took forever. I used either a 40 grit sandpaper on a buff sander, and went around the outside and just filmed all the edges, or I used a little bit of I used a grinding tip on a Dremel. Both of those, you have to be really careful to wear jackets and everything, because the carbon pieces will get all in your skin. That took me forever. After I got that done, and I knew everything fit pretty well, and the whole carbon fiber piece fit on top of the original pretty well, I went in and I cut out probably about 1/2 inch all the way around the quarter panel of the original RX8, like the original metal quarter panel with the Bondo and the fiberglass fender, everything. About, I don't know, maybe 1/2 inch all the way around, and left that on the outside as like a pedestal to put the carbon fiber on top of. So halfway, you'll see it in the video. It kind of makes sense when you see it. But the reason I did that is I would have somewhere to glue the carbon fiber to on the original vehicle. I left a little extra in places I knew the carbon fiber was weak, and it's just gonna add a little bit of weight. There's really no issue to it. So once I got that done, I went ahead and cleaned all the flanges, cleaned all the edges of it. I went to Home Depot and I got this. Whoa. I got this adhesive, and the adhesive specializes in fiberglass to metal. And basic carbon fiber is kind of like a fiberglass, it's a ceramic. So you gotta sand both flanges down, both where you're putting the adhesive and where you're connecting the metal and the fiberglass or the carbon fiber. You're gonna have to sand them both down really well, 40 grit, 80 grit, and just make sure it's really clean so it has a really strong it adheres really well. And once you do that, it's pretty self-explanatory. You just kind of wipe off all the excess. You use a whole bunch of clamps. I'm sure I think I threw a time lapse up while I was doing it, but it's pretty self-explanatory from there. You just basically glue the new part on and trim to how you want to. Last thing I'm going to do, I don't know if I'm going to include it in the video because I've already been recording this video for like 4 or 5 weeks now. I'm going to do one last layer of really thick resin all the way over the part and onto the original car, onto the metal. And that's going to add some extra bite and extra adhesion, kind of extra strength to it, just to make sure no water or no air gets in between the carbon fiber piece and the metal and kind of starts blowing out that adhesive. And then I'm going to sand it all down and make it all smooth and work on polishing it. And then I'm going to spray it with clear coat. But yeah, so that's how you do it. It's not too hard. I hope I'm going to be doing the other side pretty soon, the other quarter panel, and I hope to do a lot better explanation step by step. This time it was too scattered. I was coming down here late at night, had a whole bunch of loud noises around me. If you have any questions on what I did, feel free. My Instagram's in the bio. You can go down there, send me a DM. You can leave a comment on this video. If I don't see your comment or something like that, happen to just hit me up another way. I'm all about answering questions. That's not a problem. I hope this helps you learn how to make a carbon fiber part for your car. It's not as hard as people think it is. It's really time consuming if you want a really clean part. And if you're going to do it, you might as well spend the time, spend extra money, make sure you do everything right to make sure you don't waste all that money on carbon fiber and come out with a part that you're not too happy with. But yeah, I'm going to be also, when I cut the other side, I have the original part in there. I didn't weigh the carbon fiber. I want to weigh both sides. I want to weigh the old part and the new part. I want to see the difference in weight. Because when I picked it up earlier, it was pretty heavy. And when I cut out the inside, because I cut out 2 layers of metal, but I left the original, like the inside layer shell that's really part of the unibody. I cut out all the extra and all the supports for the gas tank and everything that didn't need to be there anymore. I cut out all that. Like I said, guys, comment down below if you have any questions. It's currently 1:50 a.m. I've been working late nights every night to get this thing finished. Hope you enjoyed.